G'day everybody and welcome to episode 5 of the Williams warm-up. Sun is shining, we've got the fans back alongside us, so it means that after 2 years away from the track, we are back at the Australian Grand Prix and we're ready to take you behind the scenes in the Williams warm-up. Let's go. Today we'll be giving you an overview of the city of Melbourne before talking to the event organisers about what actually goes into the planning of the event itself. But first, seeing as we're back in Australia, it's time to test our staff on how well they know their Aussie slang. It's time to put head chef Dan Mochman up against composites technician Aaron Birch to see who has mastered the dialect.
So this is Team NL versus Team AA. Obviously Peanut here. We're going to try our Aussie slang. Haven't been here for 3 years, so let's see how well we know our Aussie partners. Oh, we're good.
Yeah, that's what I've gone for. It means something good.
Bonza.
Yeah.
Very good.
Bloody Bonza, mate.
Aren't you just? It's got nothing to do with boats, I'm guessing.
Go on with it.
Right, Peanut, you first.
Well, I've just gone for boating. I think it's a trick question. I think it means they're going rowing.
I've gone for a gym sesh. No, that makes no sense. Can't put that one down. Stuck in a tight space.
I've gone for happy. Like we say pig in shit, don't we? It's the same idea.
Ah, I do that quite a lot.
Yeah. How do I write this without swearing? I know what it means.
Gone for you, legend. Hashtag Paget. Get him some exposure for his fan page.
That he set up himself.
It sounds so.
I've put a good thing.
You know what?
Like if you win something.
We're in Australia. Everyone's legends. It's ridiculous.
I've given the point to Peanut there.
Yes!
Well, there's no favouritism here. is
You
there?
little ripper.
Exactly.
I was going to go with an arc.
It's made it even harder.
Neither of us are from London.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoa, I've got it. All right. Let's not help him up.
I've started, so I'll finish writing my terrible answer.
I've
seen his. His makes a lot more sense. His actually rhymes with arc.
Yeah. Shark.
I put a pedalo.
Which mine would attack your pedalo.
Yeah, you would definitely win. A Noah is not a pedalo.
We'll put the pedalo on as well. Rattle one more time.
Your dags.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Come on, mate. Rattle your dags.
Just add mate at the end of it.
I've got something. I've put to get revved up.
I'm going to flag down a taxi. Shilby apples. Just gone to my inner Aussie.
Okay. Go on then, Dan. What have we got?
Fit.
In what sense?
Like,
She is fit.
tell someone you're from England without telling them you're from England. Oh, she's fit. I'm like happy with that. Nosy.
Sticky fingers. I'm thinking barbecue.
Beakers in your nose.
I went with it. I'll stick with my answer. Put out here, my fiance's going to be horrified seeing as we lived in Sydney for a while that I've done so badly.
You've lived here.
Yeah.
Unfair advantage.
I'm happy with this. Gonna enjoy your picture. Flip flops.
Oh. I went for a swimming costume. That makes sense.
Don't know why they call them thongs though.
Is it playing the piano?
Not the same thing.
We've got a tie.
Oh dear.
We've got a tie.
Well, this is definitely not the 10 minutes that you told me.
Bearing in mind he lived here, surely that means I win.
Well, it's I drank here. You didn't go for a tiebreaker, did you? You haven't got a spare question. Should we do it? Who can neck a schooner the quickest?
I mean, it's early, but we'll give it a go.
Ooh. You look confident. You went straight
Well,
in.
I'm not convinced this is Australian slang. This could be Weymouth slang as well.
Ankle biter. We'll go with ants.
Child.
Peanut wins.
Oh,
Yes!
this is absolute unbelievable.
Good game, Dan.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go burn your lunch now.
Yeah. And I'll, what do I do?
Well, that was a great effort from both teams there, and if you haven't seen the first episode of Team AA versus Team NL, make sure you go back and check the last episode.
First test is athleticism.
Oh, great.
Oh my God.
We're going to start the clock.
first person to make a mistake loses.
I've not skipped since, I don't think I've ever skipped.
Now, for those of you that haven't made the trip to Melbourne or maybe planning on doing so in the future, here's a handy guide to the city we'll be racing in this weekend.
Formula One is finally heading back down under. Yes, that's right, more than 3 years have passed since we last raced around Albert Park, and we couldn't be more excited to be returning to Melbourne. Whether you're joining us there for the race or thinking about going in the future, here's what you can expect from the event and from the city as a whole. This is Destination Melbourne. Regarded as one of the greatest sporting cities on the planet, Melbourne has something for everyone. Aussie rules, cricket, both codes of rugby, football, tennis, horse racing, netball and basketball. They all battle to draw in these sport-crazy Victorian locals, and that's just scratching the surface. After all, there are few more iconic events in world sport than the Boxing Day Test match at the 100,000 capacity Melbourne Cricket Ground, and six-figure crowds will be drawn to Albert Park too when F1 lands in town, but more on that a little later. The first tennis major of the year, the Australian Open, is also hosted in the city. And speaking of the city, what can you get up to while you're there? Well, there are a multitude of excellent museums and galleries to explore, or you could walk alongside the Yarra River and stare up at the stunning mix of old and contemporary architecture. Prefer to get a bird's eye view of proceedings? Then head to the top of the Eureka Tower and experience the highest viewing platform in the Southern Hemisphere. And let's not forget, the city sits on the Port Phillip Bay, so whether you're keen on swimming, catching some rays, or just relaxing on the sand, there are a whole host of golden spots to enjoy. The best way to get around Melbourne is by tram. Most attractions have a stop nearby, and there's even a free zone in the city centre designed just for tourists. There are a few routes you can take to get to Albert Park Circuit. Just make sure to note your gate number to find the best one. And while we're on the topic of the circuit, Formula One first arrived in Melbourne in 1996, and it was us at Williams Racing celebrating at the checkered flag as Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve secured a 1-2 finish for the team. The temporary venue was created by linking up some of the main roads around Albert Park, namely Lakeside Drive and Orty Drive, and has remained largely unchanged since that inaugural race. That was until last year anyway. 2 corners have now been removed, with a further 7 having been modified. That will make this Parkland venue faster than ever before, with qualifying times set to be slashed by around 5 seconds. The quick chicane at the top of the lake remains and is one of the most iconic sections of track on the entire calendar, making it a great place to admire these incredible machines. Other good spots include the first corner, where there have been incidents aplenty during the quarter of a century since we first arrived in Melbourne, while the general admission areas at the top of the lake provide a unique atmosphere. We can't wait to finally get back to Melbourne, one of the world's greatest cities. If you're going, we'll catch you there.
Well, now you've learned about the city, it's time to learn about the track. We caught up with Australian Grand Prix CEO Andrew Westacott as he talks about the impact of the COVID pandemic on the Australian Grand Prix and how the organisers have been preparing for the last 2 years. All right, so we're joined on the Williams warm-up here by Andrew Westacott. Andrew, pleasure to have you here, CEO of Melbourne and the Australian Grand Prix. So firstly, let's just touch back on 2020 and that uncertain time around COVID. Obviously, we were here when it all kicked off. Just take us through how that was and how you dealt with that in response to obviously everything that was going on in the world.
Well, Ben, it's lovely to be here and the sun's shining, but wasn't really shining on Friday the 13th of March 2020, and you know, it was a couple of days lead up. We knew that there was this dark cloud of COVID hanging over things, and at 7:38, 8:39 sort of thing, as Chase Carey, John Todd and lots of others were being talked to, that decision was made. But 2 years on, and we didn't think it was going to be 2 years, let me tell you that. The fans are back and we've got bumper crowds, and it's because of the excitement of Formula One and the fact that, as you guys would know, Melbourne's a sport-loving city and they're coming out in their hundreds of thousands this weekend.
I was going to say, as we've come in this morning, seeing all the fans here, it's so good to have that back, and I guess obviously missing that in 2021 must have been tough as well. But did that affect the planning for this year and coming into 2022?
Oh, well, yeah, we had so many false starts. You might recall that we were on the calendar obviously in March 2020. We had a slot in March 2021. We moved it to November. That was starting to get very irritable for us, the government, and obviously Formula One, and we needed to absolutely commit. And we're learning to live with COVID here in Melbourne, Australia. But Formula One signified pretty much the start of major event cancellations in this country. Today and this weekend, it's the opening up, and so to have the Williams team, you know, which is so famous with Alan Jones, and Alan's here this weekend, so hopefully you've got a couple of cold Aussie beers in the fridges here. Everyone's going to come out, and the fans, as you saw, there's massive crowds already.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here, and just taking us through this street circuit. Obviously, there must be a lot of preparation that goes in behind the scenes to make this event happen as a whole, let alone in the COVID situation. So, could you just sort of take us through a sort of brief overview of what actually goes into planning a street, like for a street circuit like this?
Well, I guess the first thing I'd say, to put in perspective, it's probably a combination of Hyde Park and Central Park, and we've got Albert Park only 4.5 kilometres from the city. So we actually build this circuit in about 10 weeks, and we only close it on Monday night of event week at midnight. So 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday, it becomes the Albert Park Formula One Grand Prix circuit. And then we build the final little bits of tweaks, we close up the track. But over COVID, we haven't been idle. We've actually had a $20 million upgrade, resurfacing, and the circuit is not only 5 seconds a lap quicker, but it's completely different in its geometry.
Awesome, and obviously seeing the circuit out there for the first time, can you just take us through a few of the little changes that have been made to make it that little bit quicker as well?
Yeah, well, it's a clockwise circuit. It was 5.303 kilometres. It's now about 5.28. The first thing people would see is that we've got a widened pit lane. So we've gone from a 60 kilometre-hour speed limit to 80. Then we've widened turns 1, 3, 6, 11 and 15. But 15 and well, I said 11, that's the old 13. So, and turns 9 and 10, which was a chicane on Lakeside, have disappeared completely. The biggest change we've seen is a massive restructuring, apart from the removal of 2 turns. Old turn 13, which is now turn 11, and around Lakeside going into that, we're going to see speeds of up to 340 kilometres an hour, which is not new for Formula One, but 5 seconds a lap quicker around Melbourne is going to be good for the fans.
And obviously, in terms of the circuit, the fans are all here, they're packed to the rafters. What are we expecting in terms of attendance, and what can fans actually do away from the Formula One here? Because it seems like there's so much going on as well.
Well, there is. We pride ourselves. I mean, we're firstly 4 days of track activity because we have a wonderfully strong motorsport industry here in Australia. There's 650 hours of musical action across the 4 days, 41 acts, 17 locations. We've got 46 super screens to cater for the huge increase in fan attendance, and really it's a competitive events industry. We're the only city in the world that's got a Grand Slam tennis tournament, has hosted President's Cups and also Formula One, which is a jewel in the crown, but really it's about a fan experience. And you know, I'd expect on Sunday that fan experience is going to culminate with the 3 o'clock race, but Heineken's got some entertainment as a title sponsor, which I know is going to be well received, and there's a massive amount of activity, and I think that's going to mean a crowd of 125 or 130,000 on race day.
Yeah, awesome. Andrew, thank you very much for your time. We're so glad to be back here and can't wait to go racing on Sunday.
Great to be here, and good luck to Williams.
Well, that was a fantastic insight from Andrew there, and it is so good to be back in Australia for the Australian Grand Prix, and we're really looking forward to seeing what it has to bring for us. That's all we've got time for in episode 5 of the Williams warm-up. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time when we take on Imola for the Imola Grand Prix. In the meantime, make sure you sign up for your driver card at williamsf1.com and download the app. See you later.